The case study that I've chosen for this task is towards learning, a United Arab Emirates case study of developing the 21st century skills through a grade 8 mathematics curriculum by Yumna Bamath. What motivated me to opt for this study? I considered this study after reading all the 3 case studies, and I thought this one was in sync with my personal experiences in terms of where I am now as a high school science teacher based in a foreign country, and where I want to go as a potential future fit leader. How relevant is this issue to future trends in education, leadership, and management? The relevancy of the issue of learning and the development of the 21st century skills are underpinned in the research question and the sub-questions of this study, which reads as follows. In what ways do the UAE HODs lead the learning of teachers for developing the 21st century skills? In the sub-questions, more details of what the study intends to find are captured in phrases like practices implemented, perspectives on the successes, challenges experienced, and the recommendations going forward. The main issue here is a leader find himself or herself in a crisis. He or she needs to adapt and learn whilst continuing to lead. Then the question becomes, how do we prepare future fit school leaders to deliver on the missions of their respective schools and at the same time learn new technological skills that are required by the demands brought about by crises like the recent COVID-19 pandemic? What were the main findings revealed by the study? One of the main findings was that HODs are best placed to lead learning in the 21st century if only they become active learners themselves. The other finding was that for HODs to lead change, the 4 C's, which are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communications, which are referred to as the fulcrums of the 21st skill development, have to be taken into account. Thirdly, HODs need to immerse themselves in learning with, from, and through those that serve under them. For example, older and more experienced teachers may not be as tech savvy as early career teachers. In that case, older teachers who may be HODs need to learn from early career teachers. The last finding was that leaders of learning who are HODs in this study are also well positioned to lead teachers to opportunities for experimentation and the development of on-the-job CPD for teachers. How can this study be used to develop a deeper understanding of what education leaders need to lead in a constantly changing world? I think this study has reminded all of us as education leaders in a constantly changing world, that planning is key. The world in general is not running short of plans. For example, Goal 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development, which is education specific, the strategic planning 2030 of the United Arab Emirates by the Ministry of Education in the UAE, and our very own NDP in South Africa are some of these plans. And all those plans are well and good, but what education leaders need is crafting of contingency plans for educational disruptions at a larger scale in their respective schools and in their own context. Leaders should not be caught napping. They shouldn't be caught slacking off or becoming complacent once the crisis abates. COVID-19 has revealed our lack of knowledge, skill, and resources to minimize educational disruptions in a larger scale more effectively. What did I personally learn from this study? My main takeaway from the study is the deposit of participatory action learning and action research, PALA as it were, which was postulated by Zuba Skerrit. I'm enthralled by how Barmouth in this study chooses an example of a good PALA process as the one in which leadership emerges from everywhere in the group, and leaders and followers are often exchanging roles for everyone to learn. This is the crux of what the study intended to unravel, to say that in as much as HODs as learning leaders or change agents are responsible for teachers training in the UAE, they themselves should be learning in that process. The learning behind this resonates with all that I have learned in this online study, that collaboration amongst all stakeholders underpins all what leadership and education leadership in general can or stands to achieve. I've also learned that through the study that when conducting research and a crisis arises in the process of collecting data, innovative ways like the establishment of focus groups on social media platforms can be crafted as contingency plans. Aspects coming out of the research report that require critical engagement. One of them is online learning a new normal? This aspect features prominently in this research report by Barmouth. There seemed to be a strong sentiment that online education is a new normal in the report, a view also espoused by many dedicated scholars like Darby. But there are also voices that are against techno-romantic from the so-called tech utopians. For example, Selwyn, who argues that online education is not the future. In fact, contrasting views argue that the new normal in education should instead be packaged in solutions that are intended to cater for learners of various types and minimizing inequality and inequity, thus allowing for a large-scale access and participation. I'm in concurrence with this view and against online learning being considered as a new normal. I think the inclusion of technology in education is inevitable, and that is the future. Thank you so much.